Welcome to Calm Nights and Sleep Stories, where soothing tales bring you peace and relaxation. Tonight, let us take you on a gentle journey to ease your mind and prepare you for a restful sleep. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let this story guide you to serenity.
First story, The Little Red Stocking. The Little Boy and His Small Dream. Once upon a time, in a tiny village blanketed by snow, there lived a little boy named Tom and his mother in a small wooden house. They were very poor, barely making ends meet each day. But Tom never complained. He always had a smile on his face and kept a small dream in his heart: to meet Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. Tom had an old red stocking, worn and frayed at the edges. Despite its condition, he carefully hung it by the window every Christmas Eve, hoping that one day the magic of Christmas would reach him. A magical Christmas Eve. That Christmas Eve, the cold air was sharp, but the sky sparkled with stars. Tom sat by the fireplace, sharing his dream with his mother. "I hope Santa will visit us this year," he said softly. His mother smiled gently and replied, "Christmas is a time for miracles, my dear. Keep believing in the good things." Tom hung his little red stocking by the window before heading to bed. Though he felt a little doubtful, he closed his eyes and dreamed of Santa Claus. Late that night, as the village lay in slumber, something extraordinary happened. Santa Claus, dressed in his bright red suit, soared across the sky in his sleigh pulled by reindeer. When he spotted the old worn stocking hanging in Tom's window, he stopped and smiled warmly. The special gift Santa stepped quietly into Tom's tiny home, careful not to make a sound. He looked around and saw the humble room, cozy yet modest. Gently, he placed a small gift wrapped in shiny silver paper into the red stocking. Alongside it, he left a handwritten note. "Dear Tom, never lose your faith. Gifts are not just things. They are the love and hope you share with others. Merry Christmas." The next morning, Tom woke up and dashed to the window. His eyes sparkled as he discovered the gift and note from Santa. Inside the package were a pair of warm gloves, a candy cane shaped like a Christmas tree, and a tiny card that read, "Use this love to spread warmth to others." Tom hugged the gift tightly and smiled. He realized that the greatest gift wasn't the items themselves, but the love and hope Santa had shared. Story 2. The Forgotten Star. A lonely star high up in the night sky, among the twinkling stars, there was one little star that had grown dim. It once shone brightly, guiding Santa's sleigh across the world every Christmas Eve. But this year, the star felt forgotten, its light fading. The star sighed, "Perhaps I'm no longer needed. My light isn't as strong as it used to be." Santa Claus, noticing the dim star, whispered to his reindeer, "Every star has a purpose. Let's remind our little friend why it shines." A journey of rediscovery. Santa invited the star to join him on a special journey. Together, they traveled to a quiet village preparing for Christmas. In the village square stood a tree, bare and dark. Santa said, "Why don't you try shining for them?" The little star hesitated, but gathered its remaining light. As it flickered, the tree began to glow, and the villagers came together, their faces lighting up with joy. The star realized, "My light doesn't need to be the brightest. It just needs to bring hope to those who need it." A newfound purpose. When they returned to the sky, the star shone brighter than ever, guiding Santa's sleigh across the world. It had learned that its value wasn't in how brightly it shone, but in how it made others feel. Story 3. The Magical Snowflake. A special mission. Far away in the snowy clouds lived a snowflake named Crystal. Unlike other snowflakes, Crystal sparkled with a unique glow, but she had never touched the earth. The older snowflakes would say, "Crystal, your time will come. You're meant for something special." One Christmas Eve, the wind carried Crystal gently down to a little cottage where a lonely girl sat by the window. The girl whispered, "If only I had a friend for Christmas." A Christmas miracle. Crystal floated gracefully and landed softly on the girl's windowsill. To her surprise, the girl smiled and said, "You're the most beautiful snowflake I've ever seen." The girl carefully placed Crystal on a piece of velvet fabric and said, "You'll be my little Christmas friend." As the night passed, Crystal's glow seemed to fill the room, bringing warmth to the little girl's heart, spreading joy. The next morning, Crystal had melted into tiny drops of water, but the girl wasn't sad. She felt a newfound happiness and shared it with others, decorating her house with snowflake patterns and giving her neighbors small gifts. Crystal's mission was complete. She had brought joy to someone who needed it most. The End Stories. The Legend of Nicholas. A Christmas of Hope, the Village of Sorrow. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between snow-covered mountains, there lived a kind man named Nicholas. The village was beautiful, but deeply burdened with sorrow. Years of harsh winters had left the people struggling, and the once vibrant town square now stood silent. Nicholas was no ordinary man. He had a heart full of compassion and a unique gift: the ability to find joy in the smallest things. Every evening, he would sit by his window, carving toys from wood scraps and humming a tune he learned from his mother long ago. Though his own home was modest, his heart overflowed with kindness. Despite his warm nature, Nicholas often noticed how the villagers avoided each other. They walked with heavy shoulders, heads down, too consumed by their struggles to share even a smile. This weighed on Nicholas's heart, for he believed that the true magic of life was found in togetherness. One evening, as the first snow of December began to fall, Nicholas gazed at the empty town square. This cannot go on, he thought. The spirit of hope must return to this village. A plan for Christmas Eve. That night, Nicholas sat by the crackling fire, a new idea forming in his mind. He would make gifts for every child in the village. Not just ordinary gifts, but toys crafted with love and care, each one unique, each one filled with the spirit of hope. He worked tirelessly. By day, he gathered wood from the forest, and by night, he carved animals, spinning tops, and little dolls. His cat, Whisker, watched curiously as shavings of wood piled up around him. With every toy he made, Nicholas whispered a wish. May this bring joy to the child who receives it. As the days passed, the news of Nicholas's work began to spread. Though he had told no one of his plan, whispers about the strange man carving toys by the fire filled the village. Some laughed at his efforts. What good will toys do in a village that can barely afford bread? They scoffed. But others were curious. Children peered into his workshop, their eyes wide with wonder. Mothers smiled for the first time in months, and fathers nodded with respect. Even the coldest hearts in the village couldn't help but feel a tiny flicker of warmth. The night of miracles, Christmas Eve, arrived, and Nicholas loaded his sleigh, pulled by an old horse named Chestnut. He wrapped each toy carefully in cloth and set out under the cover of the starry night. The village was quiet, the snow crunching softly under his sleigh. At each house, Nicholas placed a small gift on the doorstep. He imagined the children's delight as they awoke to find something magical waiting for them. As he worked, he felt an odd warmth in the air, a feeling that he wasn't alone. When he reached the last house, Nicholas paused. In the window, he saw a young girl, her face pale and thin, gazing at the sky. She was holding a candle, its faint light barely flickering against the cold. Nicholas felt a pang in his chest. He placed a beautiful wooden doll, painted with care, on her doorstep and whispered, "May this light bring you joy." As he turned to leave, the girl opened the door. "Wait," she called out softly. Nicholas froze, his heart pounding. The girl smiled and said, "Are you the one bringing hope to our village?" Nicholas knelt down and looked into her eyes. "Hope isn't something I bring," he said gently. "It's something that already lives in your heart. I'm just here to remind you." The transformation. The next morning, the village awoke to the sound of laughter. Children ran through the snow, clutching their new toys. Families gathered in the square, sharing smiles and stories. For the first time in years, the bells of the old church rang out, their melody filling the crisp air with warmth. The little girl with the candle held her doll close as she walked into the square. Her smile was so bright that it seemed to melt the snow around her. She looked up at her parents and said, "The man who gave me this said hope lives in our hearts. Can we share it with everyone?" Her words spread through the crowd, and soon the villagers began exchanging not just toys, but acts of kindness. A farmer gave an extra loaf of bread to his neighbor. A carpenter offered to fix a broken roof. The village square, once silent and cold, became alive with laughter, music, and the spirit of Christmas. A legacy of giving. As the years went by, Nicholas's story became a legend. The villagers began calling him Saint Nicholas, the man who had reminded them of the power of hope and love. Every Christmas, they celebrated not just with gifts, but with acts of kindness, passing on the warmth they had received. Nicholas himself continued his work quietly, never seeking recognition. But every Christmas Eve, he would look out at the glowing lights of the village and smile, knowing that his mission was complete. And so the spirit of St. Nicholas lived on, not just in the toys he made, but in the hearts of everyone who learned to believe in the magic of giving and the power of hope.